All right, so what if uh what if there was like a completely natural way to boost your performance, in the bedroom? No pills or gadgets, just your own body.
I think that's a great place to start because, so much of the conversation around like this topic is all about like quick fixes,
Yeah.
rather than like addressing the root
Yeah,
causes.
exactly. You sent in this video from Dr. Felipe Vasconcelos, a Brazilian urologist, and he makes a pretty bold claim: pelvic floor exercises. He thinks they could be just as effective as medication, for some men at least, dealing with things like premature ejaculation and erectile dysfunction.
And what's interesting is that he really approaches it from this physical and psychological perspective. He really emphasizes the emotional toll, that
Mm.
these issues can take and how that can create a cycle of insecurity.
Yeah. He doesn't shy away from the stats either. Did you know that 20 to 30% of men experience premature ejaculation? And over half of men over 50 deal with erectile dysfunction. So clearly it's a widespread issue, but it often feels like it's shrouded in secrecy.
Yeah, those numbers are pretty staggering, and they really highlight the need for like more open and honest conversations,
Mm.
about men's sexual health.
For sure. So before we get into the specifics of the exercises themselves, let's break down the science a little bit. Why are these pelvic floor muscles so important when it comes to sexual function?
Well, think of your pelvic floor like as this foundation for everything down there. These muscles support your bladder, your rectum, and in men, the prostate,
Hmm.
but they also play this crucial role in blood flow and muscle control, two key factors for healthy sexual function.
Okay, so it's not just about keeping everything, in place. It's about having the strength and control to, well, perform. But how does it actually translate to better performance? In the bedroom, I mean.
Imagine like a garden hose. If the hose is narrow, the water flow is restricted. But if you widen the hose, more water can flow through, freely. So it's a similar concept with blood flow to the penis. Stronger pelvic floor muscles help improve blood flow, which is essential for achieving and maintaining an erection.
That's a great analogy. So it's about, improving the plumbing, so to speak.
Exactly. And these muscles also give you better control over the muscles involved in ejaculation, which can help with premature ejaculation. It's about having that fine-tuned control, rather than just brute force.
So it's not just about strengthening those muscles. It's also about learning to, like, activate them and use them effectively.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm ready for the how-to portion of this deep dive. What's the magic exercise that Dr. Vasconcelos recommends?
He suggests this really simple exercise you can do just lying down. Lie on your back with your legs extended and your feet aligned with your shoulders, like you're about to do some like relaxing stretches.
Got it. I'm picturing it.
Now, here's the key. You need to isolate and contract your pelvic floor muscles. It's the same action you'd use to like stop urination midstream, but you're doing it intentionally and holding the contraction for a few seconds.
So like a Kegel, but with a bit more focus and intensity.
Precisely. Aim for a strong, controlled contraction, holding for 3 to 5 seconds at a time. Start with 20 repetitions and gradually work your way up to 100 as you get stronger.
Wow, 100 reps. That sounds ambitious. But I guess it's like any other workout. You have to be consistent and gradually increase the intensity to see results.
That's a great point. Dr. Vasconcelos actually compares it to like an athlete. Training for a big game, you wouldn't expect to see peak performance after just one training session, would you?
Not at all. You need to put in the work consistently over time.
Exactly. Building strength and control in your pelvic floor muscles, it takes time and dedication.
And speaking of dedication, Dr. Vasconcelos mentioned a study that really caught my attention. Men who consistently did these exercises for 3 months saw improvements comparable to those using medication. That's pretty remarkable.
It is. And it raises some interesting questions. Why might exercises be even more effective than medication for some men? Could it be about like regaining a sense of control over their bodies and their sexual experiences?
That's a fascinating point. Maybe it's not just about the physical effects, but also like the psychological benefits of feeling more empowered and confident.
It's definitely a possibility. And I think it highlights the importance of addressing sexual health from this holistic perspective. It's not just about treating symptoms. It's about understanding the mind-body connection and empowering individuals to take like an active role in their well-being.
And it's not just about addressing like existing issues either. Dr. Vasconcelos also talks about the preventative benefits of these exercises. Even if you're currently satisfied with your, performance, wouldn't it make sense to take steps to maintain that as you age?
It's like flossing your teeth. You do it to prevent future problems, not just when you already have, like, a cavity.
That's a perfect analogy. So it's like investing in your future sexual health.
Exactly. And it's never too early to start thinking about preventative care.
Okay. So we've covered the basics of why these exercises are important and how to do them. But are there any other benefits besides, those related to sexual health?
Absolutely. Pelvic floor exercises can be beneficial for a variety of reasons. They can help improve bladder control, which is particularly helpful for men who experience leakage or, urgency.
That's a big one, especially as men get older.
And they also contribute to core stability, which is important for overall posture and, like, athletic performance.
Wait, so these exercises could actually help me in the gym too. Maybe I should add them to my routine.
It's definitely worth considering. A stronger core can benefit you in so many ways.
All right. I'm sold on the benefits, but I have to admit, I'm still, a bit unsure about the technique. I'm imagining myself lying there, contracting random muscles, and hoping for the best.
I understand the hesitation. It's a new muscle group for many people to focus on. But the good news is there are resources available to help you learn proper technique.
Like what?
Well, Dr. Vasconcelos demonstrates the exercise visually, in his video, which can be very helpful. And there are physical therapists who specialize in pelvic floor health who can provide personalized guidance.
So if you're really serious about getting this right, seeking professional guidance is always an option. But even just watching Dr. Vasconcelos' video is a great place to start.
Absolutely. It's like having a personal trainer for your pelvic floor.
Okay. I love that analogy. And, it's funny, we talk so much about taking care of our, physical health in other ways. But this area often gets overlooked. Why do you think that is?
I think it comes down to a few factors. First, it's a topic that can be uncomfortable to talk about. There's still a lot of stigma around, sexual health, particularly for men.
You're right. It's seen as something private, something you shouldn't discuss openly. But as we've seen, these muscles are so crucial. For our overall well-being, we can't afford to ignore them.
Exactly. And second, I think there's a lack of awareness. Many men simply don't know that these muscles exist, let alone that they can be, strengthened and trained, just like any other muscle group.
And third, there's this misconception that these issues are just a normal part of aging, something you just have to accept and live with. But that's not necessarily true.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's a really important point. Dr. Vasconcelos challenges that assumption head on. He argues that we don't have to be passive about these issues. There are natural, effective ways to take control of our sexual health and improve our quality of life, regardless of age.
Yeah, and that's such an empowering message. We don't have to suffer in silence. We can take proactive steps to feel better and enjoy a more fulfilling sex life.
It's about taking ownership of your health and well-being, both physically and emotionally.
Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the physical exercises, the importance of a holistic approach, and the need to break down the stigma around men's sexual health. But I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, the idea that exercises might actually be more effective than medication for some men. Why do you think that is?
I think it's a fascinating question, and it really speaks to the power of the mind-body connection. When you engage in these exercises, you're not just strengthening your muscles, you're also cultivating a sense of awareness and control over your body.
It's like you're taking an active role in your healing process, rather than just passively relying on a pill to, fix things.
Exactly. And that sense of agency can be incredibly empowering. It can help you feel more confident and in control, not just in the bedroom, but, in all areas of your life.
And that confidence can translate into a more positive mindset,
Yeah.
which can further enhance, sexual performance. It's like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly. It's about breaking free from that cycle of negativity and self-doubt and reclaiming your sexual power.
And I imagine that can also have, a ripple effect on other areas of your life, relationships, self-esteem, overall well-being.
Absolutely. When you feel good about yourself, when you feel confident in your body, it radiates outward into all aspects of your life.
Okay. I think that's a great place to pause for now. We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive, but there's still so much more to explore.
We've only just scratched the surface.
Exactly. We'll be back in just a moment to dive even deeper into the world of pelvic floor exercises and their impact on men's health and well-being. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone. Before the break, we were talking about some really interesting stuff. The idea that pelvic floor exercises could be more effective than medication even for some men because of like the mental and emotional benefits they can bring.
Yeah. It really blew my mind to think about it that way. That it's not just about, like, the physical mechanics, but also that feeling of agency and control that comes with, like, taking charge of your own health.
It's a really powerful concept, isn't it? And it really speaks to, like, the importance of addressing sexual health holistically. We can't just focus on the physical stuff. We need to consider the mental and emotional and even relational dimensions as well.
Totally. But I think for a lot of guys, myself included, it can feel like a bit overwhelming to think about, like, tackling all of those aspects at once. Where do you even begin?
That's a valid point. It's not about trying to do everything perfectly, overnight. It's about starting with these small steps and gradually incorporating healthy habits into your life.
So, like, what are some practical tips for taking this more holistic approach to men's sexual health? What would be, like, the first step?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to cultivate self-awareness, pay attention to your body and how it responds to different situations, what triggers stress for you, what helps you relax, what brings you pleasure.
It's like becoming like a detective of your own body and mind, understanding, like, your unique patterns and triggers.
Exactly. And once you have this better understanding of yourself, you can start making these conscious choices that support your, well-being.
Okay, so let's say I've done some self-reflection, and I realize that work deadlines, they always send my stress levels, like, through the roof. What's a practical step that I can take to, manage that stress?
Well, you could try scheduling some dedicated relaxation time after a big project. That could be anything from taking a long bath to reading a book to going for a walk in nature. The key is to find activities that help you de-stress and recharge.
So it's not just about powering through and pushing yourself to the limit all the time. It's about recognizing when you need to take a break.
Yeah.
And giving yourself permission to prioritize self-care.
Precisely. And I think this also applies to, like, the relational aspect of sexual health. Communication is key, in any relationship, but especially when it comes to intimacy.
Yeah. That's something Dr. Vasconcelos emphasizes in his video, too. He talks about the importance of, like, being open and honest with your partner about your needs and desires.
It's about creating a safe and trusting space, where you can both feel comfortable expressing yourselves. And that can be a journey in itself, right? Learning to communicate effectively, being vulnerable, navigating different desires and expectations.
It definitely takes time and effort.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth it. When you have that open communication with your partner, it can create this deeper sense of intimacy and connection, both emotionally and physically.
Absolutely. And when you feel more connected to your partner, it can actually reduce stress and anxiety, which can then have, like, a positive impact on your sexual experiences.
So it's like all these different pieces of the puzzle are, like, fitting together. We're talking about pelvic floor exercises, stress management, communication, and it's all interconnected.
Yeah, it really highlights the complexity of sexual health and the fact that there's no, like, one-size-fits-all solution. What works for one person might not work for another.
But I think the key takeaway here is that we have more control than we realize. We don't have to just accept things as they are. We can take these proactive steps to improve our sexual health and, well-being.
Exactly. And it's never too late to start making changes.
Okay. We've talked about the physical exercises, the holistic approach, the role of communication. But there's another piece of this puzzle that I think we need to address, the mental game. Because let's be real, sometimes it's all in our heads.
You're absolutely right. The mind plays such a powerful role in sexual performance. Anxiety, negative thoughts, self-doubt, these things can all sabotage our efforts, no matter how strong our, like, pelvic floor muscles are.
It's like we're our own worst enemy sometimes. We get so caught up in our heads that we forget to just relax and, like, enjoy the experience.
We get so much pressure on ourselves to, like, perform, to meet certain expectations, to be good at it. It's no wonder we get in our own way.
And for men especially, there's this added pressure, right? To be virile, to be in control, to never show weakness.
Absolutely. And those societal expectations can be so incredibly damaging. They create this culture of silence and shame around sexual issues, making it really difficult for men to seek help or even admit they're struggling.
So how do we break free from these mental traps? How do we, like, cultivate a more positive and confident mindset when it comes to sex?
Well, I think one of the most helpful strategies is to practice mindfulness. Instead of getting caught up in negative thoughts or worries about the future, you focus on the present moment. Pay attention to your senses, the physical sensations, the connection with your partner.
So it's about being fully present in the experience,
Yes.
rather than letting your mind wander off.
Yeah.
All sorts of unhelpful places.
Exactly. And when those negative thoughts do creep in, try to observe them without judgment. Acknowledge them, and then, let them go.
That's easier said than done, isn't it?
It takes practice.
Yeah.
But with time and effort, you can train your mind to be more present, more accepting, and more compassionate towards yourself.
And I imagine this also ties into the importance of self-love and acceptance.
Yeah.
Because if you don't feel good about yourself, if you're constantly putting yourself down, it's going to be hard to feel confident and sexy in the bedroom.
Absolutely. Self-love is so foundational to a healthy sex life. It's about appreciating your body, embracing your, uniqueness, and treating yourself with kindness and respect.
It's funny how we often talk about self-love in the context of body image and appearance. But it's equally important when it comes to our, sexual selves.
I couldn't agree more. It's about embracing all aspects of who we are, including our sexuality.
And I think that's a message that needs to be heard.
Yeah.
Loud and clear. We all deserve to feel good about ourselves, to enjoy our bodies, and to experience pleasure.
Well said. And I think it's important to remember that there's no one right way to be sexual. What matters is that you're, comfortable and confident in your own skin.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
It's about finding what works for you and your partner and creating a fulfilling and satisfying, intimate life together.
Exactly. It's about exploration, communication, and a willingness to, embrace the journey.
Okay. I think we've covered a lot of ground here today. We've talked about the physical exercises, the holistic approach, the importance of communication, and the power of the mind. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to circle back to something that Dr. Vasconcelos mentioned in his video, the idea of preventative care.
That's such an important point, and it's something we can apply to all areas of our health, including, sexual well-being.
Right. We often think about health in terms of, treating problems that already exist. But what if we shifted our focus to preventing those problems in the first place?
It's a paradigm shift, and I think it's particularly relevant when it comes to sexual health. We tend to wait until there's a problem, before we seek help. But why not be proactive about maintaining our, sexual vitality as we age?
So instead of waiting until we experience, erectile dysfunction or premature ejaculation, what if we started incorporating pelvic floor exercises into our routine as a preventative measure, just like we brush our teeth or exercise regularly?
Exactly. It's about taking a proactive approach to our health rather than, a reactive one.
And I think this goes beyond just the physical exercises. It's about cultivating healthy habits in all areas of our lives. Managing stress, nurturing our relationships, being mindful of our thoughts and emotions.
It's about creating a lifestyle that supports our overall well-being, including our, sexual health.
And I think that's a really empowering message to leave our listeners with. You don't have to wait until something is wrong to start taking care of yourself. You can start today, right now, by making small choices that support your health and, happiness.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey. There are resources available, communities you can connect with, and professionals who can support you. Don't be afraid to, reach out for help if you need it.
Well said. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with some final thoughts and reflections on this fascinating topic. Stay tuned. And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into this surprising power of pelvic floor exercises.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating conversation, exploring not just the physical mechanics, but also the mental and emotional aspects, of men's sexual health.
It really has. And I think what stood out to me most is that it's not just about, fixing a problem. It's about taking a proactive approach to, feeling better.
Yeah.
And enjoying a more fulfilling sex life.
I completely agree. It's about recognizing that sexual health, it's an integral part of our overall well-being, and that we have the power to, take control of it.
So as we wrap up this episode, what are some key takeaways you hope our listeners will, walk away with?
Well, first and foremost, I hope they'll understand that, they're not alone. If they're struggling with sexual issues, there are resources available and effective solutions out there, like pelvic floor exercises.
Right. It's about breaking down the stigma and encouraging these open conversations about these topics.
Exactly. And secondly, I want to emphasize the importance of prevention. We don't have to wait until we, experience problems to start taking care of our sexual health.
It's like investing in your future well-being.
Right.
Making small changes today can pay off big time down the road.
Absolutely. And lastly, I want to encourage listeners to embrace this holistic approach to their sexual health. It's not just about the physical, it's about the mental, emotional, and relational aspects as well.
It's about understanding that everything is connected and that taking care of ourselves in all areas of our lives can have this, positive impact on our sexual well-being.
So if you're listening and you're, intrigued by what we've discussed today, I encourage you to do some further research, maybe watch Dr. Vasconcelos' video or, talk to your healthcare provider.
And remember, you don't have to embark on this journey alone. There are communities and resources out there to support you.
It's all about taking that first step towards, feeling more confident and empowered
In your body and your sexuality.
And as always, we encourage you to like this episode if you found it valuable and to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into fascinating topics that matter to you.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep diving deep.